please a warm round of applause for Karel Och, the artistic director of Karlovy Vary Film Festival and the member of the jury of the international competition here in Odessa. So an applause, please, like that. Yeah, like that. Okay. All right. Thank you for coming. It's a great pleasure to have you here. And so the first question that I have, I know that you just wrapped up your own festival and you're tired, of course. This is so much work. I think that most of the people who work in film industry, they just ask themselves how to stay relevant. I mean, how for the film festival to stay relevant. And this is like we have Karlovy Vary is one of the oldest European festivals. So do you have an answer to that?
It's all about passion at the end of the day. I mean, the team, and I'm the artistic director, which I need to explain. I'm not the head of the festival. The head of the festival is the president. And then you have executive director who runs the money side, etc., and sponsors. I am responsible for the selection of films, which is very comfortable because I don't have to take care of any finances, no money issues, and I can focus together with my team on selecting the movies, which is about 200 films a year. And the team is the key. The team is full of passionate film buffs and very excitable, film professionals who travel the world like I do, and we try to look for the best. And then the key is that you're a spectator yourself. This morning I went to see La Belle Époque,
Okay.
the opening film, which I missed in Cannes, and I haven't laughed and cried as I did this morning for years.
Okay.
Because we're spectators as well, and we see a film which has an emotional impact on us. And what we try is to bring this emotion to our audience. And it's all about that at the end of the day.
Okay, and what's the main how you call it when you select the films for the competition? So what's the main
Criteria?
Yeah, right. I mean, because here in Odessa, they're looking for it. They call it like art mainstream something. But how do you do that?
We belong to the festivals that don't really define it, or we don't want to define it, because once you define something, then definition is a limit by itself. So once you start defining something, then you kind of put limits on maybe next year if it's something which doesn't correspond to the definition. But we are developing, we're human beings. We were different 10 years ago. We're different now. Now everybody has kids on my team. So we have a lot of father, mother, child stories in the competition.
That's how it changes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it changes. The life changes, you change. And but at the end of the day, you look for something that makes you feel and think strongly. So if it's a classical drama with a really strong story, or it might be a avant-garde, low-budget film that gives you the same kind of unusual emotion or feeling, we go for everything. We have all kinds of genres, all kinds of sizes, budgets, etc. And the only criteria, because we're a category festival, that has to be at least an international premiere or a world premiere, which is already a limitation, because at the end of the year you realize that everybody wants the same film.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I heard that you had the problem with The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers. You wanted to get it, but
that's I was talking about the competition, which is new films, but then we have about half of the program is films from other festivals, because if you're sitting in the audience in Karlovy Vary and you are not professional or, let's say, industry person or press who look for the new films, you're just a regular spectator, that is the best we have in Karlovy Vary. You don't care if it's the world premiere or it played 20 festivals, right? So we have about 80 films from Venice, Sundance, Berlin, Cannes, and sometimes you have strategies. So if there's a film like The Lighthouse, which is directed by the guy whose first film we had as an international premiere, The Witch.
The Witch, right?
Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson, they both came to Karlovy Vary. The producer is a friend, but we couldn't get the film because I think the studio who releases it in the States thinks it has a potential for the Oscars, maybe for nominations for the acting, so they freeze the film for the summer. And they start in the fall, launching the so-called award season, which is just messing up everything, because it's about marketing, and they apply the strategies they used to apply on big films, they apply them on art house films, and it's sad we don't get the film that you love, but
Yeah, sure. How do you get the stars? Because everybody's anxious, in the film festival to get the stars. Because that's what gets attention of the audience, because yeah, we have film buffs, we have cinephiles, people who love cinema, but also we have these stars bring, all the attention to the festival.
Ideally, is the star that is good for the tabloid media, or not tabloid,
Right,
but
sure,
big media,
sure, yeah,
and
yeah.
intellectuals as well. And we've been quite lucky. But it's a year, it's a job which is very, very long, because we don't pay. There's festivals and they don't even hide it. They pay a fee.
Yeah.
Because some actors ask for it, and if you go, we never wanted to, and we never did. But then it takes 5 years to bring Julianne Moore, which happened this year because she was busy. She always wanted to come, but making so many movies, and it finally worked with the movie, and which directed her husband, and they all came. They had a good time. We played the film that they started with 20 years ago, but it's a lot of travels to the United States. We meet for 10 years, 2 weeks, 3 weeks a year. We go there and we meet agents, managers, publicists, and we promote. And then by now they know, but it's all about timing.
Okay.
If you're shooting 2-3 movies a year and you have a few weeks free time, and a festival in Czech Republic, which is the other side of the world, is asking for you. You want to go maybe, but you're tired. You want to be with your family. So it's not easy, but when it happens, it's magical. They like it.
Yeah, because you have like Susan Sarandon, you had Robert De Niro, and and you have Julianne Moore and Patricia Clarkson this year. I mean, this is a
Casey
huge...
Affleck came for the second time. He was
Yeah.
2 years ago, and this year he had a film as a director, so he said, I'm coming back time, because he liked it. So, but it takes time.
I know that lots of, visitors, they love the atmosphere, and I know that it's a crucial part of Karlovy Vary, because it's not a big city, and you come there, you like take a vacation, and
Yeah.
you see films, and you drink a little, and so you have a great time. So how do you, when did you learn that this is actually an attraction?
Most of the people who work in the staff, in the programming team, we studied the same school, which is film studies, history and theory of cinema. And about the festival. If you're a film buff, you learn about the existence quickly, because it's the biggest event in Czech Republic of any kind, not only cultural but social, etc. And if you're lucky, you get to work there a little bit. Like I started as a jury secretary 20 years ago, and you want to be part of it, because it's just 1 week of excitement for movies. And you mentioned something very important. It is very difficult for our colleagues from big cities to make the festivals, like in New York, Toronto, because you can't change the whole city. And you have your audience composed mainly from the people who live in the place.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you imagine 8 hours and 10 hours in the office, and then you go to see a film from Hong Kong, documentary.
3 hours, black and white.
These are challenges which you can do when you lock your apartment in Prague. You take your kids, you give them to grandparents, and there you go, for 5 days. Just immerse yourself in art house cinema. You see people you don't see the entire year. You drink, because that's what makes the conversations more vivid. And then after 3 days you are exhausted, or 5 days, and you leave and you're satisfied, and you go back to watching Netflix or something.
Yeah, and Karlovy Vary is satisfied. I mean, the mayor.
Yeah.
Sure. And I heard one of the things that I read the things that you said, that your finance is fine. I mean, in this age of financial turbulence, how do you manage with finance?
It's unlike many other festivals. This is a private company that is organizing the festival, and there's no connection to politics, etc. No foundations, no big organs. There's 3 guys. It's a group of that I'm lucky to be part of. We can sit at a table and we can make important decisions just by us. And
So they're businessmen.
well, the president of the festival and the owner of the company is a famous Czech actor, and he was called in early 90s to save the festival, which was dying, because nobody wanted to do anything with it. And then he stayed on board, and he brought in my former boss, who gave me her position about 9 years ago. She was about to retire back then. She was a famous film critic, and at the age of 60, she became artistic director. And she raised the level very high, and then now we're continuing her work, taking it to different directions. But this basically, since it's such an exposed event, all the sponsors want to be part of it, and every now and then dramatic situations happen, like last year when, because of My boss publicly supporting another presidential candidate that didn't win.
Okay.
The guy who won, which we all know about, and it's the biggest disgrace we have in the country.
Oh, we have our problems. So yeah.
No, but this person took his revenge, and which is a public secret anyway. And the biggest sponsor of us for 16 years suddenly from one day to another left, and it was a lot of money, losing 3 months for the festival. But as soon as we announced it, there were phone calls, and this is not my territory. This is what was happening to my colleagues, and new joined in, and they wanted to help. The traditional ones wanted to help more because they saw the festival being a little bit in a difficult position. But that's all.
Oh, you're very lucky. I mean, and I hope it stays the same way. And how did you get into movies? I mean, how did it happen?
I think I was born with it. I don't know.
Okay.
I think for everyone who loves movies, it just happens at some point in your early age. You see some movie and you discover that you want to see it again. Maybe it was The Clash of Titans, I think.
Okay.
Or some.
The original one.
Yeah, and
Not the
some
reboot.
No, the original one, and some movies with Winnetou and Old Shatterhand, Karel Och's adaptation. And then at some point I started to go to the cinema in my hometown, which is a small city in the middle of Czech Republic, and I became friends with the old couple that was running it, and I started to do little jobs for them, changing light bulbs or taking the tickets. And then they asked me some movies, which movies they should invite.
So you became a selectioner for this cinema?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit, but it was just to be there, to smell the cinema. Now it's closed, unfortunately, the cinema, but yeah, the passion continues somewhere else, and festivals are a big part of it.
How do you make a career out of it?
I
Because
I started law school.
Lots of people,
Sure, yeah.
love films,
Of
but they
course.
don't
No,
know.
it's luck. I mean, I started law school, then I suddenly decided to leave, and I was lucky to be accepted for the film studies. There were only like 8 of us, and then you think, okay, you finish the school so that the family doesn't break with you completely because you
Okay.
left law school, and so you show them a diploma, but then you go to work in tourism or something. And yeah, I was invited to work for this little work in Karlovy Vary, 2001, as a secretary of the jury. And then right after the festival, I was offered the position of a documentary program. And once you're there, you can do little jobs. And if you're not stressed about having family back then or kids, you can adjust. You do 3 months, 5 months, then you do 7 months, and maybe. So you can, but Karlovy Vary it's quite an institution in terms of taking care of people also throughout the year. I mean, during the festival we are 1,200 the staff, but during the year it's about 12 people, and you have to invent
12.
things. 12, yeah.
Okay.
You have to invent some activities or so that you don't lose your people, because not everybody can work for 6-8 months because now they have families, they have to pay the bills. So we have another festival in January, a short film festival in Prague called Prague Shorts, and we have a distribution label. We are releasing about 8 to 10 films a year. So this gives opportunity to give more job to people that we want to keep on board with us because we appreciate them and we want them to work hard.
Okay, and how I should think about it. How did you were appointed an artistic director in 2011, right? And you just said that 10 years ago the festival was different. And how is the cinema different? Because do you see the trends? Like we had the Romanian cinema, or we had the Asian cinema, Chinese or Taiwanese. What happens now? What do you think?
It's interesting because I was never the kind of person that wanted to come in a new position and do a revolution, especially because I really liked what my former boss did, the artist director, and I loved to kind of continue what she did, but then I have my own taste, and my team has their own taste. So slowly, you start to take a movie which people would used to see in this hall, and you put it into hall which is twice as big.
Yeah.
Because for you it's more important as a movie, so you give the importance because not all the cinemas are the same. And people start feeling some changes slowly. And then we cancel some sections, and at the same time, funny enough, the production has changed. They have lower and lower budgets, and to express something which might be profound. You don't need that much money. It's more flexible, and this is where our taste goes. Younger cinema. I mean, we spoke about it before we started. We had so many interesting Ukrainian first films last 3 years, and this is where our heart goes. Less conventional, a bit more avant-garde, a little bit more provocative cinema, which is not costly, because I mean you need money to make a film, but you don't need that much money sometimes. Yeah, we had a film from Greece, which won one of the awards 10 years ago, and it cost 20,000 euro.
Oh.
A Hungarian film by an established filmmaker for 15,000, because it was shot based on his own theater play. He and his family acting in it, shot in his apartment. The DOPs were his students. It's possible. It's possible.
Do you think filmmaking gets less expensive now because of the technology?
It
Less
can.
available?
It can. I don't
More
want to
available?
talk. I love big budget movies as well. I don't want. It's just something what we prefer. But there are different possibilities, and it's all about the ideas. If you have a good idea and you have a good scriptwriter or a team, you can make a film with no money. Or you can just put your effort into something more expensive, and it's okay. It's still good. It's still good. We had a new Spider-Man in Karlovy Vary as an
Okay.
avant-premiere. and
Okay.
Why not?
What kind of big budget movies do you enjoy? Like this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so into Karlovy Vary now that what was this year big budget?
Oh, we have
forgot.
Avengers. We had.
Yeah, I haven't. My sons saw it and they told me we have to see it again, but
Okay.
I don't know what else was there.
I don't remember actually. Godzilla? Was it? What the Godzilla
I
this
usually
year?
watch these films on the plane.
Okay, on
I
the
keep
small
them for
screen.
the
On the
plane,
small
yeah.
screen. Right. Okay.
I shouldn't be saying out loud. Yes.
Okay, yeah, you shouldn't. Okay, and the film, yeah, we were here in Ukraine. We were very happy that my thoughts are silent by
Yes.
Antonio Lukic got the special prize in Karlovy Vary. Can you talk about this film, because I think most of us haven't seen it yet.
One of my colleagues, Lenka, she's in charge sort of Eastern Europe. She knew about the project and for a long time, and then we had our scouts in Cottbus, which is a festival in Germany, and they present films in progress, which are still projects, and we knew it was approaching towards being completed, and then we saw it in a cinema. It was nice. We saw it with my colleagues, and yeah, two things. It's just the original script and humor, and both we related to very nicely, and fortunately we were happy to be right, because it translated well. Our audience liked it very much, and then Antonio, when we spoke also at the closing ceremony, they were very happy. They said at the closing ceremony that they thought they were getting the award for the tallest actor, because
Okay.
the guy is really tall. But that's how that's how relaxed they are. There's charm around this young team of makers, and I think that he has a great future. Like Roman Bondarchuk with the volcano, or the beautiful documentary Projectionist, which is playing at the festival as well, which won Works in Progress in Karlovy Vary last year as a project, and we had it in a documentary competition, again from Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm sure that the member of the audience want to ask this question is, how does the Ukrainian film gets into Karlovy Vary competition? What do? You just send the...
Yeah. I mean, it's all about contacts. Like, we know producers, filmmakers, but mainly producers, and you know about a certain project that is being done, so you just wait until the team feels comfortable about sharing the film with you, and then you watch it. If all goes well, you love it, and if all goes even better,
You get the prize.
You get the film. You get the film, because
right.
there is a lot of requests for films from Eastern Europe now. It used to be only Karlovy Vary 10 years ago, but then with the progress and changes and more interesting filmmakers and the Oscars for Ida or Son of Saul, the region has become quite popular, and you have festivals like Locarno or San Sebastian and others. Even Cannes now playing a lot of films from Eastern Europe. So the competition is harder, but we're happy because there's more options,
But
more promotion for
But
them.
did you send the finished film, to Karlovy Vary, or
You
can be
can
like...
send also unfinished. We are used to watch films which are rough cuts
Okay.
before color corrections or sound mixing, or even when the edit is not finalized sometimes, because the time, we're running out of time, and So if you feel comfortable, you never push any filmmaker, because there are some filmmakers who are not comfortable about sharing unfinished film, which we totally understand. But if they are, then so we can watch it and we can discuss it.
And you have a great imagination to watch rough cut, I guess. Okay, and what happens in Czech? In Czech film
A
industry?
little bit less exciting than Ukraine.
Yeah, okay.
No,
But
it's-
no, because it's a crucial event. I mean, the most important event for the Czech film industry, Karlovy Vary International Film Festival.
It's the way, the return to, let's say, European, at least European, let's say, festivals and level and recognition, it's a little slow. We have good filmmakers, but it takes a lot of time for them to prepare films. So 1 year is bigger, better. Last year, maybe we had 2 films in the main competition. This year there was no. And it was not a scandal, but people were asking all the time, how come you don't have a Czech film in competition if you're a Czech festival? I said, well, it's better to have a conversation about the state of, or the quality of cinema than to put something mediocre. Because the overall level was quite good, and you don't want to put a mediocre local film because it's a shame. But there's a lot of aspects to it, and 1990s especially, when the big film studio in Barrandov was all of a sudden privatized. So the links between old generation and new generation was cut, and it's got to do with the Czech mentality also. We're a little sometimes too calm and too self-content and self-happy,
Okay.
and we are sometimes lacking a bit of some energy, a little bit more romantic, a bit more passionate. So these are good times economically, which I don't think helps either, because
Why? Why not?
because they say, and I cannot believe it, that in the times of crisis or conflicts, the art flourishes, because the artists have to unite and help each other. This is the example of Greece. I mean, the moment Greece entered the really bad shape economically, that was more or less the years when the Greek cinema started to be interesting, because the
Do you
budgets
mean
were...
Yorgos Lanthimos?
Yeah, that's the beginning, but then
Okay.
many came after him, Martina Tsangari and many others, and I know they're friends. They hang out all the time together. They co-produce each other's films. They act in others' films. They talk about ideas all the time, this is a bit different than in Czech Republic, where people, the synergy is not that strong, and it's all about that. If the community is working well, I don't know about the community in Ukraine because I get to see single filmmakers, but I would bet that there's good feeling about that people maybe see each other on different occasions and talk to each other, support each other, and they wish luck to each other.
Yep.
Support.
The rise of Ukrainian cinema actually is very linked to the state support.
Yes.
And how does it happen? How does it work in Czech Republic?
There is a state support as well. There's a fund and a commission deciding about the project. Somebody is happy about the commission, others are criticizing it because they say that the commission is not in favor of something a bit different. So, of course, they have a lot of money to decide, and you can't make everyone happy. But again, it's a little heavy-handed, everything. It could be more flexible, more, yeah.
Okay, sure. There is a conflict between Netflix and Cannes Film Festival. Who do you think can win that? Is it possible to win
I
it?
don't care. I mean, this
You don't
is their
care?
thing. It's French.
No, no,
I mean,
okay.
I
Okay,
don't-
what's your stand on that?
No, because for me, if we have a film was paid by parents of the filmmaker or Netflix, I don't care, because if it's a good film, and I mean, Netflix is a producer, among other things, but they're producing more and more films, and you want to go with them as a producer, it's okay, go with them, but then don't complain that you don't play festivals because Netflix has a strategy. But this French thing about having, the necessity to go to distribution after competition in Cannes, this is strictly their rule, which I never criticized. I take it as a fact, and the consequences are as they are. I don't think it's going to harm Cannes Festival because it's the strongest in the world, and there's nothing, not even remotely comparable as Cannes. But then they go to Venice, and Venice can profit from it.
Yeah, they lost Roma. I mean, Cannes
Why
lost
not?
Roma, and then
Yeah, why not? Because, but Cannes launched other films. I think there is a lot of useless discussing about it, and they are demonizing Netflix, because they are not, by far not the major producer of films out there. So we've played films by Netflix a long time ago because it was shot by our friend Gary Fukunaga,
Okay,
Beast
sure.
of No Nation.
Right.
So we don't really care who that's for. No, I mean, I don't want this to be paid by someone who is,
Evil,
who is
okay,
yeah, evil.
okay,
But
yeah,
in
okay.
terms of good guys, if it's one guy or a studio, doesn't matter.
What
If
about,
it's
what about cinema experience? You know, like, we should watch it not on a
sure,
plane.
but the Netflix
not-
is about, you know, they are, I think they acquired or they rented the Egyptian theater in LA, and they're going that direction. They're about to buy or whatever, run a chain of cinemas, because they know that the content they have belongs on the big screen as well, and they work with festivals. I know that their producer out there, before they sign a deal, they present a list of festivals that they want Netflix to go. They want ask Netflix to consider giving this particular movie to festivals as well, because it's important for the filmmakers. So I think they're more and more open because there's more and more people working there. So the so-called devil Netflix was not that much about them wanting to look like a devil, but I think they were just entering the business, and there were not that many, and they could not, like, you know, satisfy all the requests, etc. So they didn't reply, and somebody thought, oh, they
And the
don't care
French
about
are too snobbish about that.
Yeah, we love them, we hate them, you know.
Yeah.
We admire them. They are entity on their own.
Okay, sure. Now, finally, we have the time for the audience to ask the questions. So just raise your hand if you have a question, and you get the mic in, and you ask it. Anybody? Yes, please.
Sorry, it would be easier for me to ask in Ukrainian.
Okay.
Мені цікаво, ви згадали про свою команду, яка відбирає фільми на ваш фестиваль, і згадали, що це люди з кіноосвітою, які принаймні вивчали історію кіно. Як ви ставитесь до певних інших фестивалів, в команді яких люди без кіноосвіти відбирають фільми, можливо, на основі власного досвіду, і які у вас є критерії відбору в програмний відділ людей?
It's not a condition. If you want to work in the programming team, we don't put it as a condition to study cinema, but it just happened like that. And some of them even finished the schools yet, so I should be, like my boss told me, you will not travel until you finish the school. So I should, but you know, they have other things, families, so it's just happened to be, and it's a small country, and you share your interest also while studying. But there is others who studied like film production also, so it's a pure coincidence, and this is really probably the best moment of my professional life in terms of the quality of the team, which is very young, and we fight a lot in a creative way, and it's just that you look forward to go to the office every day because of these things. And you ask about the criteria of selecting
Yeah, right.
movies, or
No, the
team?
the professional, the team.
No, it's
the team.
I don't know. It's there's 4 colleagues of mine, and if I think back how they joined, yeah, one of them was recommended by another colleague, so we sit down and it clicked immediately, and but everybody has to start from the bottom. Let's say I started as well like that. Like, we don't hire mate programmers because this is a kind of a company mixed with family, and you have to kind of work your way. And so we all started doing the videotape, you know, bureaucratic stuff, emails, etc., faxes in my time back then. And slowly you go. If you know, if you're not satisfied, you leave, because it can happen, but it happened only once, maybe in 20 years. And yeah, it's just something profound creates between people, and films is the starter. But since we are all kind of sick in the head because of films, and we live our lives through movies and etc., apply our lives when watching the movies, everything happens quite smoothly and very organically. Actually, it's not colloquiums or some artificial acceptance conversations, etc.
Do you have a criteria in film, like you have to watch this particular films? Like, did you watch like Pressburger and Powell? Yeah, okay, you can join the team.
No.
Like that.
No, I don't ask it because this is what I I kind of kidnapped this thing 15 years ago, the retrospectives, because that's always been my favorite part, the old movies. And of course, sometimes my colleagues collaborate, but this I keep strictly for myself, or I find the person who is the right person for this filmmaker. Like we had this year, Yusuf Shaheen, the Egyptian filmmaker, and there is a film critic from Egypt who was just amazing, and he did the whole thing. But I like to organize this because it's a particular treasure.
What do you fight about with your team? You said that you have a lot of fights.
It's creative about opinions because sometimes it's. But that's the nice thing because I mean, I'm 45, they're 30, so you have certain life experiences, and how you apply this on reading movies. That's interesting. Like there's certain things. There was an Argentinian film last year in competition about a couple who have two grown-up kids, and the couple is kind of separating, but they want to give it one more shot, and they go on vacations. And some of my younger colleagues said, "This is not possible. How come they would go on vacations together? It's impossible. They're kind of separated, right? They haven't lived for 6 months together." So you can't break. You don't want to break your colleagues, but to certain situations you have to arrive by yourself by experiencing life. But it's creative, mostly very creative fights. Yeah.
Okay. Another question, please. Okay. Yes, please.
Добрый день. Скажите, пожалуйста, а кто вам нравится из российских и украинских режиссеров?
Can we consider Sergei Loznitsa Ukrainian?
Well,
He was born.
We call him
Yes,
Ukrainian,
yeah.
but he's not. I mean,
Yeah, no, I always ask him for 20 years, like, so what shall we call you?
Okay.
Because he's living in Belarus, in Berlin, whatever. But yeah, let's call him Ukrainian filmmaker, and for me, he's the most exciting. Yeah. We've screened most of his films since late 90s, and I remember Q&As with him 20 years ago, and he's always been very fierce, very strict, but very precise, and he was on the jury this year. And you have, I think he studied like mathematics or physics, so he has very exact mind, but very creative and very unpredictable. So as an artist, as a human being, this is probably the most exciting person coming from here.
Okay.
for me.
Did you have any favorite Russian filmmakers?
We like the young filmmakers, and I don't know, from the Russians, Zvyagintsev, of course, I like, but these are the masters. I'm really more interested in young generation, like Ivan Tverdovsky, Zoology, etc. There's this guy. I'm having an internal fight with him. His name is Kantemir Balganov.
Right. We have his film premiere here.
I think he's just really one of the most amazing talents out there. But in his first film, Closeness, he used real footage of cutting throats. You know? So this is something that, and you see it. The rest of the film is masterful for 26-year-old guy. But this is, these are the things that you spend days talking, because how far you can go in radicality and bringing real life and cinema together. But I want to mention his name as probably the most exciting Russian talent.
Yeah, sure, but with the cutting throat, the thing that everybody talked about, that it just overthrows it's more powerful than anything can happen in the film, all the fiction, because this is for real, and that's why.
Unfortunately, yeah, but I was in the jury in Cannes, we're in the film premiere, and we had a long discussion, and it's not about some statements, no, it's just that where you personally, you don't proceed. You don't go farther than that, because you imagine in the film is screening somewhere in the cinema, and one of the audience members is a relative of the person who's a Russian soldier in Chechnya, and you don't know, and you see your nephew being slaughtered. This is where it stops for me. Yeah. But I don't criticize people who go for it, because it's not. I shouldn't be doing it.
Did you enjoy Donbass by Loznitsa? I mean,
Yes.
was it like everything clear for you? Because we know some people, like they couldn't tell one characters from the others.
Well, it's hard to say if I enjoy
Yeah.
Loznitsa's films
It's not
in
about
general.
enjoyment. Okay.
But it's very intellectually stimulating, all of his stuff, and like I can't say I enjoyed The Tribe.
Yeah,
But what
it's
a
not
film!
an enjoyable
What a
film.
film!
Okay.
It's like you see a film like that, and it makes you completely redefine the way you perceive a movie because you see characters that don't hear what you hear and see what I mean. So this is why you can do this job for 50 years because every year something like that happens, and it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know this was possible.
And now we patiently wait for the second feature by Miroslav Silbersky.
Patience is running out.
Yeah, we hope so. We hope so. So another question, please. Okay. Okay. No, anybody?
Можно?
Yeah. Okay.
Да. Как вы думаете,
Just,
какой
just,
будет...
just wait a little
Ага.
bit.
Здравствуйте. Как вы думаете, какой будет, ну, на ваше мнение, идеальный кинофестиваль там, через 20-30 лет в будущем? Вот, на что будет больше фокус направлен? И еще один вопрос, как вы относитесь к таким проектам, как DAO или что-то наподобие, когда вот уже теряется больше связь между кино и реальностью, и это как-то переходит в что-то абсолютно новое, своеобразное. Вот. Спасибо.
So the first one, do you think in 20 years, how's it going to change?
Ideal festival in 20 years? That wasn't the question, right?
No.
Ideal festival.
No. The question was,
I
how
was
do you think?
translated, how do you see an ideal festival in
Yeah,
20
like
years?
yeah. I think the core of the question was, how's it going to change in 20 years? What's going to be the changes?
How I foresee it.
Yeah. Like you're 65, and then you're an artistic director.
I don't know. I can say how we will want to have it and how we will do it. How it's going to be in general, I don't know. But we are slightly old-fashioned in terms of there is a lot of stuff going industry, etc., which is important and you have to have it. But the most important thing is to have a film and bring the filmmaker and make the filmmaker talk to the audience. And it will always be a core in Karlovy Vary, and the rest we built around it. And that's why we have the audience we have. It was really very smart and excited and appreciates the chance to see all these guys and girls and filmmakers to talk to. So I don't foresee any drastic changes in that sense. Maybe we'll have, I mean, we used to have 35mm prints, then now we have DCPs. Who knows how we will receive films in 20 years? Maybe we will not even receive them. Maybe they will open a window for us from Los Angeles.
Yeah, right.
You know, like for 2 hours and you just screen it.
Or the
Who knows,
chip
but
in your head.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I see some people in Prague. They have chips in the hands already.
Okay, why?
To open the door, or to pay in the restaurant. So who knows?
Oh, we
It's
don't have
crazy
that
people.
here yet.
No, I saw the only two. But it's all technology. But the core or the soul of the event will remain the same. And in that sense, we're advantaged even now because of the drop of attendance in regular cinemas. There will still be the need to share the experience in the cinemas, and for that festivals are crucial, you know, because it is like an island that you don't have to think about during the year. You just know that it's there, and you look forward to it, and then you're done with it, and you look for the next year. And the second
question was what do you think about the DAO by Janovsky?
I only followed the thing from afar, and I love his first four. What was it called?
Four, yeah, right.
Amazing artist, and for me, he got too stuck there because I was so looking forward to his other stuff, and he disappeared in a way in the most exciting moment. But at the same time, I love crazy people in the cinema,
Yeah, right,
because
when they
this is
get
how the
insane.
history is being made, and they suffer, but somehow it's masochistic as well. But then, you know, we need stuff like that. So we need stuff like Satan Tango, 7 hours and a half films, because, you know, it's the most diverse it is, the better. And that's why we don't close ourselves from any kind of film or genre or anything. Romantic comedy or a heavy art house 5-hour film from Philippines.
What are your favorite insane directors?
Favorite
Directors got insane
Oh,
for maybe
yeah, there is.
period of time.
The good ones are always insane, but Sam Peckinpah,
Right.
John Cassavetes, they are insane to a certain extent, and it doesn't have to be with the alcohol. It's just that they have a vision, and they were born and lived in years which did not really was not most favorable for that kind of vision. Now we watch Cassavetes movies because who for me is really like completely different than the rest of the history of cinema, and one of his best films, Opening Night, which until now is, you know, it's a cult film, a huge part of the history of cinema, hasn't been released for like 7 years, I think, when it was done. So there were struggles back then, like now. It may be different, but the fools and the crazy guys, they push boundaries.
Okay, I guess you had a question, right? Can we?
Ти більше там з родиною в рідному місті.
All of this together.
How?
I start traveling. I mean, a part of not non-regular visits, like Odessa, which I hope might become regular. Because
Yeah, we hope to.
everything is the way it's supposed to be. You know, it's a film festival. Venice is when I start traveling. San Sebastian, and every month 1 or 2 festivals. There's some new ones, some regular ones. Then same goes for my colleagues. Then in the spring we do a lot of trips for selection. Like we go to Germany to watch new German films. So it's just me in the cinema and watching about 25 films in 4 days, back to back, just alone, and selecting. My colleagues go to Amsterdam, Montreal. We travel the world. And in the meantime, we're in the office, we're meeting, we're talking and corresponding with producers, etc. So it's a mixture of all, and during the autumn it's time for the guilty pleasures, for catching up on the series and stand-up comedians. And in the spring, it's mostly about the films that we receive for like submissions and we watch. So yeah, it's all together actually. And I get to travel about a third of the year. 1/3, 100 days.
Let's talk about your guilty pleasures. What series do you catch up to?
Oh, Peaky Blinders.
Okay,
Actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Like,
And I was
this is
excited because we had a Belgian filming competition called Patrick, which is a very funny film about a guy who operates a nudist camp. So all the Belgian actors are naked there, and somebody steals his hammer, and it's a very existential film. First film by a guy who shot the 3rd season of Peaky Blinders. So,
Okay.
you know, you get stuff that you get excited about because producers or actors are those from the films that you see for the festival. Of course, everybody's talking about Chernobyl, so that
Yeah,
I
right.
have to catch up with from HBO.
It's
at some
huge
point.
here.
Yeah,
Most
it's huge
pirated.
everywhere. Yeah, but it's huge everywhere, and they talk about it all the time. And but even the books are guilty pleasures because sometimes during the spring it's difficult to read books also because you're tired from all the watching that the eyes don't serve that much. So then you just look forward to do like Werner Herzog suggested to all the filmmakers: don't watch any films, just read books, because education, the right education for a filmmaker is to read as many books as possible. I guess because of the imagination.
Okay, and I was always curious, do big Hollywood studios, do they still shoot a lot in Czech Republic? And how does it help the industry? How does it change the industry?
Of course, they do a lot more and more, not only Hollywood, but from India, China,
Okay.
UK, whatever. A lot of series. And of course, it brings money, and there's tax incentives, and all the stuff that helps to bring more capital and gives more job, because famously the Czech below the line professions and crew are very famous for good quality work. So also this helps a lot, and sometimes sometimes the filmmaker comes to make a movie, or an actor in Prague or somewhere, and it's during the festival, so they come over to just relax for a couple of days during our festival. So it's very much in the syntony with what's going on in the country, and there's more and more of it actually, which is good.
I think that we have the last question, the time for the last question, because you have to go to the screen. And which of the films you like waiting the most this year? Like, you want to see this one? The upcoming one.
Upcoming.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. what I love is that when in 1 week Venice Film Festival will announce the lineup, and
But you can guess. You can
you can guess, and you know about films being done, and you say, is the new Pablo Larraín going to be in Venice? Let's see, is this one going to be there because it was not in Cannes?
Yeah.
There's a Czech film actually, which I don't know where it's going to happen, where it's going to premiere, but I guess somewhere big, and it's called The Painted Bird, which is a famous book by Jerzy Kosinski.
Painted what?
Painted Bird.
Okay.
Which
Painted
is
Bird.
kind of relating to, Halic and northeast Slovakia, and because it's a book by Jerzy Kosinski, the guy who wrote Being There also. And it's about a young gypsy boy who is escaping the transport during the Second World War, and it's a very rough and cruel book, but it's a masterpiece of writing. And there's another crazy guy in Czech Republic, who optioned the book for 10 years, and he's approaching the end, and he just shot the film 3 hours, black and white, no dialogues. But what I saw was just incredible. So I look forward to this movie, which will premiere somewhere during the second, and I look forward to watch other movies like you guys have in the program. So many amazing movies like Almodovar films. I want to see it again because I thought it was a masterpiece. Parasite, we don't have to talk about this.
Yeah, sure.
Plenty of stuff.
Okay, guys, please give a warm round of applause for Karel Och, the artistic director of Karlovy Vary Film Festival and the member of the jury of international competition here in Odessa. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.